Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Certificant Connection webinar. I'm Kevin Keller, CFP Board CEO, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. today. During our webinar today, we'll have updates of this week's Board of Directors meeting. We'll review the process for refreshing CFP Board's strategic plan. We'll update our initiatives to advance diversity and inclusion. You'll hear updates on our strengthened enforcement process, and we'll share an update on our latest practice analysis study. And most importantly, we'll be answering your questions. But before we get started, let me cover a few housekeeping topics. If you run into issues with the audio, or if it just seems like the slides are out of sync, you should refresh your webinar console. Press F5, or for those of you on a Mac, hit Command-R. There's a Q&A function on your screen that you can use to submit questions to us at any time during the program. We'll address as many questions as possible during the Q&A session at the end of the program. And if we don't get to your specific question, CFP Board will follow up to provide an answer. Joining us today are two distinguished CFP professionals. Doug King is the 2021 Chair of the Board of Directors, and Camila Elliott is the 2021 Chair-elect. Thank you all for joining us today. Doug, why don't you start us off and give an update on the Board of Directors meeting that just wrapped up about an hour ago.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. I'll be happy to. So this was our first regular board meeting of the year and the third that we have held virtually due to the pandemic. We were joined by three new board members who were elected last November. First, Neri Jambusaria is a CFP professional who's an Executive Vice President of Strategy, New Ventures, and Analytics for LPL Financial. Neri is an experienced strategist focused on developing new approaches to drive LPL's growth agenda, accelerating key strategic efforts, and creating sustainable standalone businesses for LPL. So you can imagine that she was very excited to join our first meeting, which had a lot to do with strategy. Richard Sherlock is a retired two-star general, Major General from the U.S. Army. In addition to his military service, Richard has also served the public and patients in crisis around the world by leading the nonprofit organizations that represent the air, medical, and critical care ground medical transport industry. Nancy Smith also joined us. She's an Executive Vice President at AARP. In addition to her service at AARP, she has served many roles, including Director of Securities in the state of New Mexico and Director of the Office of Investor Education and Assistance at the Securities Exchange Commission. Richard and Nancy both joined the board as new public members. So we dedicated most of the meeting this week to our work on updating the CFP Board's strategic priorities. The CFP Board's current strategic plan was launched originally in November of 2017, and it is anticipated to take us through 2021. On this chart, you'll see what we call the 4A's plan. It's focused on strategic priorities of awareness, access, accountability, and authority. And while this plan is still in effect this year, the Board of Directors has dedicated a significant amount of time over the past year or so to prepare a refresh strategy. Here you'll see a high-level view of the roadmap we've established for the strategy refresh process. The outcome of the process will be a new strategic plan for the CFP Board, which we expect to adopt at the Board's meeting in July of this year, 2021. The CFP Board is an important role in advancing the entire profession, so we've taken a broad, professional-wide perspective before narrowing down to the areas where the CFP Board can make the most impact. And the process, it really started in December 2019 on the 50th anniversary of a pivotal meeting that was considered the birth of the financial planning profession. We convened a forum of nearly 100 leaders from across the financial advice ecosystem to discuss the future of financial advice. And together we started working on a shared picture of future success for the profession, including key factors that must be addressed to get us there. We released a summary of that meeting in a publication titled The Future of the Financial Planning Profession, which you can find on the CFP Board's website. Our subsequent discussions at the CFP Board led us to refine some of the key elements discussed at this forum. From there, we landed on 17 elements grouped in the categories of consumer, public, professional practitioner, and professional workforce. For each element, we've been considering where we think we currently are, what opportunities and barriers exist, what research and findings relate to the element, and most importantly, what we want to see in the future. And we've developed concise future desired state statements for each element. And as I mentioned, we intentionally began this process from an inclusive, professional-wide perspective. Since then, we've been considering what role the CFP Board does or should play with regard to each element. We grouped together the key elements that work together and visualized it with a 5-block diagram you see here. At the center, we have standards and certification, which is the core of the CFP Board's business. We have blocks for access and awareness, which cover areas that are part of our current strategic plan. We also have blocks for workforce development, which includes advancing diversity and strengthening career paths within the profession. And we have a block for engagement, with regard to both regulatory and community engagement. With each element, we considered CFP Board's role in advancing the key elements and whether the CFP Board should play a leadership role, a partnership role, or a support role for each element. You see those roles are designed by the circles in the diagram. For example, the CFP Board has a clear leadership role with all the elements under standards and certification. And those include competency, body of knowledge, ethics, and enforcement. And for elements like pro bono, we have a partnership role, and we'll work with organizations such as the Foundation for Financial Planning. And as I mentioned, we're aiming to adopt the final strategic plan at our July meeting. So the board will continue our discussions and work to refine the priorities. We'll be reestablishing significant 5-year outcomes for each priority, and we'll be mapping out a plan to achieve those outcomes through a combination of existing initiatives that will further the new priorities as well as new initiatives. And we look forward to sharing the final plan with you later this year, and we look forward to continuing our work with leaders across the financial services industry to advance our shared vision for the future of the financial planning profession with roundtable meetings and coalitions. Through this process, we're not only updating the framework for the CFP Board's work over the next 5 years, but we're also addressing key issues that impact the profession.
Indeed we are, Doug, and thank you so much. It's been great for the staff and the team here at CFP Board to work with the Board of Directors and engage leaders across the financial advice ecosystem to consider how we can all work together to advance financial planning. One area where we've seen great success in collaborating with other organizations is our work to increase diversity in the financial planning profession. Camilo, please share some of the initiatives in this area that we're working on.
Thanks, Kevin, and I'll be happy to. So as Kevin mentioned, this is an area where the CFP Board is seeing positive results. In 2020, we saw strong increases in the number and the diversity of CFP professionals. As of December 31st, 2020, the total number of CFP professionals increased to an all-time high of 88,726. The number of female CFP professionals also increased to an all-time high of 20,633. And this reflects growth of 3.1% over 2019, which is higher than the 2.7% growth in the overall CFP professional population. The number of Black and Hispanic CFP professionals also increased to an all-time high of 3,688. That reflects growth of 12.6% over 2019, a rate nearly 5 times higher than that for all CFP professionals. While we need to see even stronger increases before the CFP professional population reflects the diversity of our country, These are significant milestones that support the CFP Board's work to ensure that the public has access to and benefits from competent and ethical financial planning advice. The increase stems from strong efforts by the CFP Board and the Center to create a more diverse and sustainable financial planning population. And the CFP Board's work to advance diversity and inclusion in the profession actually began several years ago, before we launched the Center for Financial Planning in 2015. Our Women's Initiative highlighted the underrepresentation of women in the profession. It included significant research projects exploring the reasons for that situation and identifying actionable solutions. After the center was established, we doubled down on our commitment to advancing diversity and inclusion by making that one of the 3 priorities of the center. And we expanded our focus to include racial and ethnic diversity. As we did with the Women's Initiative, we have taken a research-based approach. In 2017, the center commissioned a comprehensive study to identify the barriers to racial and ethnic diversity in the profession. That research was shared in the center's 2018 report, Racial Diversity in Financial Planning, Where We Are and Where We Must Go. It provides concrete actions that can be taken to advance diversity and inclusion, many of which CFP Board and the Center have worked to implement. And in 2019, the Center released a literature review titled Why Diversity Matters. It makes the business case for diversity and inclusion in our profession. It compiles research studies demonstrating that greater diversity leads to stronger sales revenue, customer growth, and higher profit levels. These publications were introduced at the Center's Diversity Summits. And our 3rd Diversity Summit took place last November in a virtual format. The meeting again brought together thought leaders in financial planning and beyond to focus on actionable and sustainable initiatives to advance diversity. The 2020 Diversity Summit was focused squarely on action and real-world impact with a theme of sustainability, and sessions that highlighted metrics-driven long-term diversity initiatives. The summit speakers showcased best practices in organizational diversity and inclusion and inspired the industry to work together to make our vision of diversity a reality. And our CEO, Kevin Keller, had a compelling fireside chat with Melody Hobson, president of Ariel Investments, which you can still view on CFP Board's YouTube channel. The center also released a new report with case studies of successful diversity and initiatives practices in the financial services industry. The new report is called Diversity in Action: How to Sustain the Financial Planning Profession. It includes case studies of initiatives at successful financial services firms that are advancing workforce diversity. And it provides scalable insights that we hope everyone will be able to replicate in their respective workplaces. The cases come from Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Hoyle Cohen, Merrill Lynch Wealth Management, Northwestern Mutual, and Weatherby Asset Management. We are very grateful to these firms for sharing their experiences and advice. I hope all of you listening today will take a look at these important reports and consider how you can help advance diversity. And we are thrilled that our survey of attendees found that about 70% came away from the summit with at least one recommendation they plan to implement, and 95% said they would attend a future summit. The next diversity summit will be held this November, and it will again be in a virtual format, maintaining our social distancing. Advancing diversity is an important initiative for our profession, and one that CFP Board and the Center can't achieve on our own. The scholarship funds and to all of our scholarship review panel volunteers who review the applications. But the need for scholarships is much greater than the number of available awards. So if you are interested, you can learn more about our programs and make a financial gift to support the programs at cfp.net/support-r-scholarships. As chair-elect of the board, I lead the board's nominating committee. Last year, as part of the comprehensive governance review, the board made a number of updates to our nomination process. Our bylaws require that a majority of board directors hold CFP certification, and for the board to include directors specifically designated as public members. Those classifications were a large part of the profile we focused on in the past when looking for new board candidates. However, moving forward, we will be focusing more on the professional skills, experience, and knowledge needed on the board and its committees. We want to make sure the board has the diversity of experience, viewpoints, and representation necessary for good governance. So the nominating committee is now working with an executive search consultant to conduct a gap analysis. We will use that analysis to develop a comprehensive descriptive profile for future board candidates. We will have an executive search consultant use that profile to conduct an active search for qualified board candidates. And you will see that profile reflected in the call for nominations the board will issue in April. This April, you'll also see another flight of public awareness campaign advertising. I'm pleased to share that the CFP Board's 2021 Public Awareness Campaign will kick off on March 29th with a flight of advertising highlighting the value of working with CFP professionals that will last through late May. This will be the 11th year of our public awareness campaign, and we invite you to a special webinar the week before the advertising flight that will give you an early look. On Wednesday, March 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, CFP Board is hosting a webinar update for CFP professionals. You'll hear about the campaign's progress to date and the 2021 media strategy and media plan. You'll get a first look at the updated advertising creative, messaging, and audience positioning. And you'll hear how the campaign will be measured. I hope you will join us. You can learn more and register from the events calendar on CFP Board's website at cfp.net/events. As in past years, all of the public awareness campaign advertising will direct people to the letsmakeaplan.org website. The site features Find Your CFP Professional search tool, and resources about why people should work with a CFP professional. The site relaunched last December with a refreshed look and feel. The updated site puts a spotlight on the Find a CFP Professional tool with listings of CFP professionals near you across the site. Those listings display profiles based on the site visitor's geographic location with a random selection of CFP professionals near that location. If you haven't updated your profiles in a while, or if you haven't opted in to participate in this tool, now is a great time to take a few minutes to review and update your profiles. CFP professionals can update their profiles through their online CFP Board accounts.
Camila, thank you so much. I'm excited that the public awareness campaign will be back on TV later this month. I want to give a quick update now on some of the work over the last year and a half to strengthen our enforcement process and how we detect potential misconduct. We no longer primarily rely on self-disclosure by CFP professionals. Self-disclosure hasn't gone away. We still have an ethics attestation as part of the certification renewal, and our new code and standards includes a duty to report certain information to CFP Board, usually within 30 days. But we have revamped our process for detecting potential misconduct. Last year, we completed updated background checks on every CFP professional and opened historical investigations into the conduct of about 1.4% of the CFP professionals. We also bifurcated the detection and investigation functions from adjudication and appeals. And we've dedicated additional staff resources to the detection function. Early this year, we brought on Tom Sporkin, an attorney, as our Managing Director of Enforcement to lead detection and investigation. Tom comes to us with 20 years of experience in the SEC's Enforcement Division, where he served in various leadership roles, including co-managing the Office of Internet Enforcement and designing and managing the Office of Market Intelligence, which included the Office of Market Surveillance and the SEC's whistleblower program. All of us at CFP Board are steadfast in our commitment to strengthening the enforcement of CFP Board's ethical standards. This year, we're also addressing the consequences for CFP professionals who fail to comply with our code and standards. Our new Commission on Sanctions and Fitness will review the recommended changes to our sanction guidelines and fitness standards. These documents outline what sanctions or consequence is considered appropriate for specific types of misconduct. Your input is going to be important in this process. Last month, we held 2 virtual forums to gain initial stakeholder input on the existing sanction guidelines and fitness standards. As the Commission continues its work, we'll be reaching out to stakeholders for additional input. This work will soon commence in earnest and will likely continue well into 2022. The competency standards for CFP certification are no less important. The CFP exam is an important part of CFP Board's competency standards. I like to say that CFP Board is in the competency assurance business. We assure the public that the individuals who are certified undergo a rigorous process before they're allowed to use the CFP marks. This process involves satisfying requirements for education, experience, examination, and of course, ethics. This is consistent with our mission of certifying financial planners for the public's benefit. So CFP Board upholds not just ethical standards, but competency standards as well. Our efforts in ensuring a valid certification program are essential in maintaining our accreditation. CFP certification is accredited by the National Commission of Certifying Agencies, or NCCA. And NCCA accreditation is the leading standard for professional certification programs. If you look at the FINRA professional designation list, there are more than 200 designations listed. However, only 8 of them are accredited. So accreditation is essential for trust and legal defensibility of our certification. In 2019, we undertook the renewal process and successfully passed the reaccreditation requirements. Our next accreditation won't be until 2024. To ensure our standards are relevant, we undertake a regular review of the certification program and update it through a job task analysis, which we call our practice analysis study. The findings of this major research project establish our principal knowledge topics. These topics are the basis for the curriculum of our registered programs. They define the CFP exam blueprint and include the topics that are accepted for CE credit. For the first time, as part of the practice analysis, we're also developing a competency framework that describes the attributes, the aptitudes, and skills that financial planners need to succeed. For this latest study, we also included research with firms that hire CFP professionals and clients of CFP professionals. This gives us a 360-degree view of financial planning practice. Here are some of the outcomes of our previous practice analysis, which is our current principal knowledge topics and the job task domains. The updated principal knowledge topics will be released later this month, so I don't have the list to share with you today. Much of what you see on the current list is still relevant and will remain on the new list. But we are adding one new domain called the psychology of financial planning. This will expand on concepts related to client and planner attitudes, values, biases, and behavioral finance. This is an important new domain with room for development both in theory and practice, and we look forward to helping build that out. The practice analysis is an essential part of CFP Board's work to maintain and enhance the relevance of CFP certification. We look forward to sharing the updated topics and domains with you and introducing the new competency framework. Before we get to questions, I also want to note that given the COVID pandemic, the CFP exam continues to offer a remote proctoring option that allows exam takers to take the exam from home rather than at a Prometric testing center. We first offered this option in September of last year, and since then, I think a small percentage of exam takers have chosen to use remote proctoring. With remote proctoring, the exam content doesn't change. It's the exact same, one of the exact same exams that everybody else is taking, but the experience obviously can feel very different. I'm happy to report that remote proctoring has gone smoothly for nearly everyone, with just a few folks having technology issues on their end. To help avoid that problem for future candidates, we've updated our website's frequently asked questions about remote proctoring. If you or somebody on your staff is interested in learning more, you can go to the website cfp.net/ remote. You know, we've covered quite a bit this afternoon, at least this afternoon for those of us on the East Coast. I think we're ready to go to the questions. Camila and Doug, if you're ready, we'll hop right into those. Let's start. You know, first question up, Pat asks, Doug, we'll go to you for this first question. Pat asks, will CFP Board look at previous ethics violations sent in for planners who are still out there? For example, a reported ethics violation in 2018. Doug?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So, Pat, yes, the CFP Board reviews all reported potential conflicts of ethics violations. In all likelihood, though, if we have a 2018 case, it's most likely already been concluded. And for the case, if it's already closed, the CFP Board would not revisit or conduct any new review of previously closed matters. Not sure if that was your question or not. But it is possible that some cases could still be open in 2018, from 2018, and those would involve ones that have underlying lawsuits or arbitrations or things that are still yet to conclude. But if any new cases came in from that time period, of course, we would address those cases.
Great, Doug. Thank you. William asks, why was there more scrutiny and restrictions on my CE for ethics? He says, reading every page, doing exercise, than there was for the 20-plus hours of CE that I just took for IRAs/investments, etc. I think I get the gist of his question. I'll take that. CFP Board has special requirements, William, for our CE programs on our code and standards, given the importance of our ethical standards to the public. So in addition to outlining the main topics and learning objectives for these ethics CE programs, we also have a requirement for how they are delivered. For example, we require self-study ethics CE programs to make participants progress through the content in order to set out the curriculum and complete all of the activities before you're given access to the final assessment. For self-study CE programs, on the other hand, everything but ethics, we encourage forced progression through the content and the activities before the final assessment is presented, but we don't require that. So, William, I hope that answers your question. This next question is from Matt, and I think it's probably appropriate for both Doug and Camila. Matt writes, what's the board's most important priority in 2021, and how can we as CFP professionals advance this goal? Doug, why don't you take that to start?
Sure, Kevin. Matt, that's a great question, and I love the fact that you asked how can CFP professionals advance this goal. So, as I mentioned in my update, we've been spending a significant amount of time working on our strategic refresh for 2022 to 2026. I mentioned that our current 5-year plan expires at the end of this year, and so our goal is to complete that strategic refresh by July of 2021, and we'll share that plan with all of you thereafter. So once this plan is completed, we're going to count on all of your support to help us implement it. So we'll be more on that topic soon. Another priority, major priority, is enforcing our standards. And as you all know, we began enforcing our new standards in, I think it was October 1st, 2019. And we published numerous resources designed to help you all understand what you can be doing to comply. And so you can do your part by making sure you read those resources, make sure you fully understand those standards, and make sure that you comply with the standards. So, Camila, why don't you take it from here and tell us what else we're working on?
Thank you, Doug. And of course, advancing diversity and inclusion in the profession remains a top priority for the CFP Board this year. And it helps all CFP professionals move forward. So as I mentioned in my update as well, if you haven't already, please take a look at the diversity reports the Center for Financial Planning has published. They outline actionable research-based solutions that individuals and firms can implement. You can also be a mentor to someone pursuing a financial planning career. You can support the center's scholarship programs and also advocate for and recommend women and people of color within your firm or with others for advancement and opportunities. This is a great question, Matt, because we really do encourage all CFP professionals to consider how you can help create a more diverse and inclusive profession.
Doug and Camila, thank you so much. I have a couple thoughts. Doug, you mentioned the resources for complying with our standards. And, when the board passed those standards, Doug, I think it was your first year on the board when the board all voted, and it was unanimous, but it was really clear to us at the staff level how important the guidance was going to be. And maybe just to comment your view on that, because we've invested significant resources on those standards, Doug.
Yeah, thank you. I have to admit that maybe I'm a little biased here watching you all do your great work every day, but the staff did a phenomenal job. This was one of the things back a few years ago when these standards came out. The board asked Kevin and his team, please let's make sure this isn't a gotcha. Let's make sure that everyone fully understands exactly what we're asking people to do. How can they comply, exactly what they need to do to be a fiduciary at all times. It was a big jump from our past standards. And I think they hit it out of the park. They really did a phenomenal job. I think one of the reports is over 30-some pages, and it's case studies and analysis, and it takes you, step by step. It kind of gives you scenarios that'll say, this is your client, this is who they are, this is what they're thinking, this is what you're thinking. Is this compliant? Is this not? And so those reports and resources, there's quite a few actually. They're available on our website. And I think if you haven't had a chance to take a look at them, you really should. You can download them. You can read them on your own time. But I think they're just terrific resources, and I think they're essential, quite frankly, in helping comply with these standards. Thanks for
Doug, we have guidance for every kind of learning style. So if you like videos, we've got videos. If you like case studies, we've got case studies. We've got checklists. So yes, there's one that's a rather long document, but we've got checklists and sample engagement letters. All of that's included. It's at CFP Board or CFP.net/guidance. While you were talking about the internet. I'll come back to that question. I have a question here I'll come back to in a second. I think this next question, Camila, is for you. Patricia asks, can we use CFP Board advertising materials and videos on our website?
Yes, you can. Our CFP.net website has a toolkit of public awareness campaign materials that are available for CFP professionals to use for this very reason. The TV ad videos are available to embed or share on your sites and online channels. There are online banner ads you can download and add to your sites. And there's even sample messaging you can use for social media or other purposes. And as well as our campaign advertising is placed on national outlets, and we appreciate that everyone who helps to extend the campaign through your own professional website in your community. So the materials, Patricia, are definitely available to use on your website and to promote the CFP certification.
And I would only add, Camila, obviously consistent with your compliance department, right?
Of course, yes, definitely.
Of course.
Thank you for that, Kevin.
Absolutely. All right. Jacob asks, are there any marketing plans to use Google and social media to make people aware of CFP certification? With the public awareness campaign, CFP Board does quite a bit of search engine marketing and social media advertising. If you attend the upcoming public awareness campaign webinar that Camila talked about, you'll hear more about how those are integrated into our consumer advertising strategy. That webinar is on the 24th of this month. We also use search engine marketing and social media advertising to encourage prospective financial planners to start their pursuit of CFP certification, as well as promote our Career Center. Camille, another question for you. Richard asks, what are the best ways to leverage the CFP certification for marketing?
Thank you for the question, Kevin. And Richard, the best way to think of that is using CFP marks on your business materials. So making sure your clients and potential clients see your name associated with the CFP mark they are seeing in the public awareness campaign, advertising, and in the media. And if you're looking for new clients, make sure that you've opted into the Find a CFP Professional listing on letsmakeaplan.org website, and that you have a complete profile. And one thing I did want to mention is that I know that social media, I think we've heard about this the third time, in the Q&A, is a really important aspect of marketing, but making sure that wherever you have CFP, it must include the registered symbol or the trademark symbol. So if you're using your CFP the acronym on social media and it does not have the registered symbol, if it does not have the trademark behind it, you're not really compliant with using or maintaining the standards that we have placed for the CFP marks. So one of the things that we also have for you is we've also created brochures that you can provide to clients and prospective clients. There is what is a Certified Financial Planner professional brochure that can help your clients understand the basics of certification and the benefits of working with a CFP professional. And then there's also the Ethical Duties of CFP Professionals brochure. It helps clients understand your obligations to clients under our code and standards. So you can order those off of your online CFP Board account. So we have information available online. We have print materials that you can use in your office to provide to existing clients and to prospects, or potential clients, I should say. And then also just make sure that you really adhere to the trademark guidelines of the CFP professional, the CFP marks with respect to your website and social media.
Camila, thank you. And Greg writes in about our brochure. Actually, Greg with 3 Gs, G-R-E-G-G, writes in 2 times here within the last few minutes. He said, I've asked numerous times why the brochure is not available in a PDF format. I would appreciate it. He writes in again, what is it still available? Can I get a PDF? I didn't know, Greg, with the 3 Gs that it wasn't available via PDF, but that's certainly something that we can do so that you can download that, take it to the printer, and print up print up the brochures if you'd like. Next question, Ryan. Do you have any programs where I can donate time or work with disadvantaged persons or households on financial planning or financial education? How can I offer assistance? Boy, Ryan, we love that question. And in fact, Doug, this is one that we've talked about even as part of our strategy refresh. How can we work more closely with other organizations to provide financial planning to underserved groups? Ryan, I encourage you to visit the Foundation for Financial Planning's website to learn more about the pro bono programs. Earlier this year, the Foundation released a new platform to connect CFP professionals with pre-screened nonprofits that have virtual and community-based opportunities for those in need. The website is probonoplannermatch.org, and CFP professionals can create an account on that platform, browse the listings. I think, I'm not sure a lot of people know, but we have a very close working relationship with the Foundation for Financial Planning. In fact, they're co-located here in our office in Washington, D.C., right here on K Street. So we work very closely with them, and we're pleased to be affiliated with them. Next question, Camila. Todd asks, given the new Democratic leadership in the White House and Congress, do you anticipate more stringent regulations of the financial services industry?
Thank you for your question, Todd. And as you probably would assume, it does seem reasonable to expect that the new administration will push for more regulation than what we saw from the previous administration, which emphasized deregulation. But our hope is that any regulatory changes will focus on benefiting investors and the public. One effort we would like to see some progress on is to reinstate the financial advice tax deduction, which will be a win for our clients and an added benefit to the value of professional financial advice. I think that in any environment, particularly coming out of COVID-19 or within COVID-19, that the need for financial advice is still strong, and whatever tax benefit we can provide, we would love to see some efforts to bring that back.
Great, thank you, Camila. Peyton asks, to support inclusivity and sustainability, and I believe diversity implicit in the question, which Peyton says admits is important for the profession, are the passing cut scores for the CFP exam for all groups taking the exam, or are they adjusted for certain groups to assist those in passing? Peyton, I can tell you unequivocally there's one pass score, one cut score for everyone who takes the exam. So, Peyton, thank you for the question. Eric Paulson asks, when will the CFP campaign end? And Doug, you know, awareness is still one of the priorities that the board is looking at with the refresh. Do you want to speak to how important awareness is?
Sure. So the public awareness campaign, as you all know, it started a number of years ago. It had a lot of success. We had some great commercials. We had some great feedback in the last year or two. I can't keep track anymore. We've updated that numerous times. And so now we're looking at it in a broader perspective. And so I certainly believe that the current public awareness campaign, it has a natural life, and I'm not an advertiser, so I can't really tell you exactly how many months that is, but at some point you will expect it to end. But we're looking at the broader perspective and looking as part of our strategic refresh, what's next and what other mediums. And I think Camila just mentioned COVID-19, and I think things change, and a lot of the formats that we use, we're all looking at everything, and we'll be rolling that out, and more to hear and learn about it in the coming months.
Great, Doug, thank you. Hubert asks, does CFP Board publish an annual summary of the disciplinary actions taken? We don't publish it all in an annual survey, but the public discipline is all available on our website. Each time, multiple times per year, we issue a news release with all of that, and then there are subsequent anonymous case histories that come out as well. But, Hubert, I like the idea, and for the staff that are on the call, if we might capture that, I think that's an idea worthy of pursuing. Diane asks, how are you regulating CFP professionals outside the USA? Diane, we do not regulate CFP professionals outside the USA. At one point, all of the, we had a council, an international council, and all the international groups were part of CFP Board. That ended in 2004, and now my friend and colleague Noel May, who operates the Financial Planning Standards Board in Denver, the FPSB licenses the right to administer the CFP program in all of the territories, 25 additional territories outside the U.S., and they have oversight responsibility and actually go on site and audit those organizations, the FPA of Australia, the Japan Association of Financial Planners, etc., to make sure that they're doing so in compliance with the standards that are set by FPSB. A couple more questions here before we go to the end. Somebody writes, I'm a professor. Jason writes, I'm a professor at a CFP Board program. Who from the board? Jason, we'll have somebody from the staff follow up with you on that. Kimberly writes, my profile doesn't appear on the consumer-facing website. How can I get my profile included? This is a common question we get. You have to make sure that your profile says that you're accepting new clients and that you're a practitioner. I would tell you, Kimberly, it would be best for you to call CFP Board's offices, ask to speak with one of our stakeholder services representatives. They can walk you through the process so that we can get you on the consumer-facing website, and you should be there. We see a big uptick in people searching on Let's Make a Plan when the public awareness campaign is underway. So you'll want to, before that campaign launches, Kimberly, I'd urge you to do that. I think we're coming up to the top of the hour. We're almost out of time. Doug, what would you leave us with?
Hang on one second. I thought we were doing more questions. So, okay, thank you. So I'd like to first of all thank the CFP professional community for its support of the CFP Board and the CFP certification. We're looking forward to finalizing a new set of strategic priorities for the CFP Board later this year, as we've said a couple of times. And we hope all of you will consider how you can get involved in our work. The CFP Board achieves its mission to benefit the public through the work of all of our CFP professionals, and we count on each and every one of you. Our mission is something we can't achieve on our own, and we're grateful to everyone who's shared time, energy, and support to our initiatives. I also want to recognize the tremendous work that you're doing to address your client needs during this stressful time. We recognize that you're also dealing with your own concerns and stresses, and we just ask you to please remember to take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Hey, Doug, thank you. Your friend Dana Hastings says hello, so she wanted me to give you a shout out.
I saw that. Thank you, Dana.
Great. And I also want to thank the CFP professional community and everyone who supports it. CFP Board and the Center have a number of important priorities. I'm thrilled that we're making progress on advancing diversity and inclusion in the profession, and I encourage you to join in our work. There are many ways you can get involved, both at an individual and as leaders within the firms or organizations that you are a part of. So I encourage you to read the reports from our first 3 diversity summits and consider how you can take action. And of course, I hope that you'll plan to join us this November for our next diversity summit. The benefit of our virtual summit is that you can join from anywhere in the world. You can join from your home, in the comfort of your home, and be able to learn ways that you can help support diversity and inclusion in the profession.
Well, thank you both, Camila and Doug. I appreciate your leadership, and I thank everyone on the board of directors for your dedication to CFP Board's mission and commitment to the certification. In closing, thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. A recording of this presentation, including the sirens going down K Street, I think, if you can hear those, will be posted on our website within the next few business days, and CFP Board will follow up individually with those of you who ask questions that we did not get to. With that, we will say goodbye and thank you.